Thanks very much, Sarah, and to all of you. It's a real pleasure for me to be able to be here today on behalf of IRCC and many partners that work with us on this really exciting and difficult, complex challenge of immigration to smaller centers. I am director of all of the programming at IRCC that has a place-based lens to it, and so I'm pleased to give you an overview of that today. I'm going to focus kind of on the models and the structure of the programs because I think that might be most relevant for you, but happy to answer any questions, except on the municipal nominee program, which, as Fraser mentioned, because we're still in the post-election caretaker period, we're not able to speak to anything new and forward-looking until we have a new minister in place and have a better sense of that individual's priorities. So my first few slides are just restating kind of the public policy problem around this. Sarah mentioned the vast majority of newcomers who come to Canada settle in Canada's top 10 cities and largely in Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver. And so from a regional perspective, this is not only problematic for employers who can't find labor and folks to fill jobs, but it actually has a negative impact on regional economic growth. And so from a lot of different kinds of stakeholders, including governments, but community stakeholders and others, we've had calls to look at new and innovative approaches to solving some of these challenges. So the suite of regional economic immigration programs in Canada is comprised of three. Our core regional programming is the provincial nominee program, and then we have two pilots that are currently ongoing. One is the Atlantic Immigration Pilot, and then the newer Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot. And all of these, in some measure, to some degree or other, address the same problems. I would probably reverse the order on the slide there, where retention is the biggest challenge for sure. It's not difficult. It is difficult, but it's not the most difficult thing to recruit people. Many people want to come to Canada, but to keep them in the smaller centers is a real challenge. And as Sarah said, we all enjoy full mobility rights, and that's a good thing. But it does mean that as soon as newcomers receive their PR, they are free to move wherever they choose to in the country. The second one would be this idea of supporting both labor market needs, we have a typo there, but also regional economic development in a broader sense than just filling jobs. And always in all of our economic programming, it's the idea of economic independence and making sure that newcomers who come here are set up for success and they are able to establish and succeed here economically and support themselves and their family and achieve their aspirations. I'm not going to spend too much time on the provincial nominee program because I have a colleague here from Manitoba, and Manitoba is for sure a best practice in the PNP. But I'll just say that the PNP is really a collection of over 80 different pathways that are created by our provinces and territories in collaboration with IRCC. But really the highlight is the flexibility that this program provides to provinces and territories to create streams that meet their unique labor market needs and those broader economic development strategies as well. There's lots of room for innovation. We do have sort of small P pilots within the PNP program where provinces and territories are trying new things to adapt to new policy problems that come up. I would say that among the 80 streams, the key targets are workers. Some of the streams require a job offer, and some are more focused on human capital, entrepreneurs, and international graduates who are interested in staying with us on a permanent basis. Just to highlight on this slide, number 2 and 3, so the PNP has become the main source of economic immigration for many PTs, and we've seen increases in the levels space that's been allocated to the PNP over the past many years. And number 3, importantly, the provincial nominees, so the folks that are chosen by the provinces and territories as a good fit for them. We do see high rates of retention in the nominating province, as well as this idea of economic establishments or economic independence, so very successful. So why regional pilots then? And the truth is this is a complex area, and so despite the success of the provincial nominee program, there continue to be persistent challenges, and we are looking at those in different and innovative ways and testing new concepts through a couple of different pilots. I think the main point here at the bottom is we're putting retention first through settlement services, thinking that through at the front end of selection, as opposed to kind of doing the selection and then maybe at the tail end of the process thinking about the settlement needs. And that's really important and a distinguishing feature in our experience for smaller communities and regional programming, as opposed to our programming that is more focused on human capital factors alone. So the Atlantic Immigration Pilot was launched in 2017, and it is a partnership between IRCC and the provincial governments in Atlantic Canada. The model here of the design is what I'm going to focus on. It's innovative in that it's employer-driven, so employers have a greater role in selecting their newcomers than they do necessarily in other programming. But they also have greater responsibility in the integration and settlement, and we hope retention of those folks in Atlantic Canada over the long run. And not just for the principal applicant, but really taking a whole of family approach. So some of the feedback that we've had from employers is that often the principal applicant is integrating fine, they are working, they're meeting colleagues, their language proficiency is improving because they're at work. The kids are doing okay because they're in school, they're meeting friends, they're learning, but often it's the spouse who is sitting at home, isolated, communicating with friends and family back home, and so we really need to take this whole of family approach. So one of the things that we've offered through this program is to ensure that there are work permits available for the spouses of the principal applicants as well, for spouses who wish to work, so that they are able to do that when they want to. Second thing is settlement plan, and there's a larger role. There's a mandatory settlement plan and needs assessment for every member that comes through. So again, not just the principal applicant, but also the family members. And so we have our settlement provider organizations, thank you to many of you in the room, who are playing a stronger role in that than perhaps is kind of built into the design of some of our other programming. And then new partnerships and program delivery, and I really want to emphasize, I've already spotted many of the folks in the room that have made this pilot so successful, from PEI, from Pictou County in Nova Scotia, from Newfoundland and Labrador. So collaboration with the provincial governments, with the settlement provider organizations, with ACOA, colleagues are here. All of us working together to make sure that immigration is aligned to the economic needs of Atlantic Canada and the economic opportunities there. Just some quick stats. You see that we have designated employers, 2,000 of those at this point in 2019. Job offers made 1,700 and change. Whenever you introduce a new pilot, there is a bit of a ramp-up period as people get to know, just be aware of the program. So we're seeing that trend for sure. And then the needs assessments and referrals on the settlement side, over 5,000, over 5,200 of those. So really good numbers for this stage of the pilot. Then we were also asked to look at smaller communities in particular. So whereas the AIP is kind of a region looks pan-Atlantic. There was a need that we were hearing about from smaller communities. And so about a year ago, well, no, sort of in January of this year, the minister announced the rural and northern pilot, and then in June, he announced the 11 communities that are participating in that. And we are working, my team is working right now with those communities to share information with them about the immigration system and to help set them up for success in being able to receive applicants and choose people who are a good fit for their community. And so again, to the model here, we're building on the success of the Atlantic pilot, and so still a really strong role for employers. But we're looking at the combination of a meaningful economic opportunity. What we mean by that is a career and not just a job. So are we bringing people in for jobs that can lead them to a career development path of some kind? So they come in as a worker, but they can work their way up to a management role if that's what they want, or it's linked to their chosen field of study. So I'm a mining engineer, and I'm coming in to do work in that sector. Another strong component is the community-based wraparound supports. We call that the community hug, and just making sure that people feel right away that they are welcome and wanted, and that they are helped to connect to the services that are meaningful to them. And again, this is a targeted, community-based approach, targeted family, whole of family-based approach, and that creates a sense of belonging that we hope will lead to long-term retention. Here are the key settlement features of the RNIP, which are a little bit different than under AIP because we have the opportunity with a new pilot to test new things. So again, the focus is really, really on retention. So the communities that have been selected to participate in the RNIP have agreed to champion the benefits of immigration to their community and employers, to match newcomers with established members of the community as mentors. That's not necessarily job related. It could be helping them to find doctors and dentists. It could be helping with choosing courses for the newcomers' children so that they're well placed to move on to college or university. It's very broad. And then connecting newcomers with the settlement services that are important to them. And again, case by case. So I'm good.
Oh, you're
Thank you very much.
Thank you.